The federal government has started strategic mobilization of the nation's military and other paramilitary outfits to a stoppage of all facilities and kidnapping for ransom in the coastal areas. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this when he granted audience to the delegation from the United States Institute of Peace. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who expressed concern over the continuous vandalization of oil installations and other criminal behaviors in the Niger Delta, said these acts of economic sabotage can no longer be tolerated. He therefore promised to do whatever it takes towards securing the Niger Delta region in the best interests of the country. The president said the resettlement of displaced persons and rehabilitation of infrastructure in the badly devastated northeast as a result of insurgency will also be given government's priority attention. On the renewed war against corruption, he said mechanisms have been put in place towards ensuring that it is done within the ambit of the law and without any violation of human rights. As he puts it, we attach great importance to human rights, and if there are breaches, such will be investigated and dealt with appropriately. President Buhari welcomed the growing international support, especially from the United States and Europe, for Nigeria's efforts at bringing to an end the Boko Haram insurgency. He also expressed delight with the support of Nigerians for, among others, the cardinal programs of his government, the fight against corruption, and the revival of the economy, which he said will be vigorously pursued. Leader of the delegation from the U.S. Peace Institute, Nancy Limbaugh, applauded the progress made so far by the Buhari administration in securing Nigeria and promised continued assistance for the ongoing reconstruction and development efforts in the country. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Nigeria says it will remain committed to free international trade in spite of the prevailing economic circumstances. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this when the Director General of the World Trade Organization visited the president. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu again reports.
The World Trade Organization is responsible for the reduction of obstacles to international trade and ensuring a level playing field for all, thereby contributing to economic growth and development. The Director General of the organization is in Nigeria to open dialogue on ways and means of developing small and medium-scale enterprises, which he described as biggest employers of labor. President Muhammadu Buhari said in spite of the dwindling price of oil, Nigeria will remain part of the world market. He, however, said having known the state of Nigeria's economy, the nation's consumption pattern, among other challenges, the World Trade Organization can help in ensuring that the country derives maximum benefit from its commitment to the ideals of free international trade. Ambassador Roberto Azevedo expressed delight that Nigeria continued to work with multilateral organizations in its efforts to diversify the economy, saying the World Trade Organization will soon start conversations with the federal government and relevant organizations on issues critical to economic growth and development. He said despite the difficult times occasioned by dwindling oil prices, shrinking commodity prices, and slowdown of emerging economies, Nigeria has a big part to play in global trade. The World Trade Organization currently has 162 members, of which about 120 are developing countries. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The federal government says it will address issues that led to the wrong perception of the country by the international community rather than embarking on image laundering. Vice President Remi Oshibajo stated this while receiving some British investors on a trade mission to the country. State House correspondent Jide Onifade has the details.
Views often expressed by concerned individuals and organizations at the level of poverty and lack of necessary infrastructure, such as good roads and electricity in our country, with a vast human and natural resources. A way of addressing this in the past was the employment of public relations experts to change these negative perceptions about the country. But Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while assuring the delegates of government's commitment to fixing the challenges, says the Buhari administration would work hard on the issues in such a way that within a very short while, people will find Nigeria as a good country to do business. He says people are already seeing that this government is serious about its plan for the country, and this is already generating interest to key into the plan.
The Vice President made it very clear that the President has given a mandate to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment in the area of improving the ease of doing business in Nigeria. It's one critical area that the President and the Vice President have been talking about. It's an area that is so important to every other thing that government is trying to do, especially in the area of foreign investment.
He says government is looking forward to doing business with the UK, especially those who are ready to work in the areas it is focusing on, such as electricity, agriculture, and other important areas.
We are very keen, especially on the president's corruption fight, which has encouraged us very immensely. And that has made all the investors to decide to come down.
Biggest interest is, one, I am Nigerian, even though I was born in the UK, and also we now have a new president. So it's important that we encourage the president to do well. For that to happen, we all have to come forward and to put our bit in. Don't look back and criticize, come forward with ideas.
It would be recalled that the Vice President had talks with some investors and members of the Parliament when he visited the UK in October last year in the State House. Jide Onifade.
Towards achieving greater effectiveness among legislators, Senate President Bukola Saraki and Speaker of House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara say the 8th National Assembly will ensure the completion of the permanent site of the National Institute for Legislative Studies. He stated this during an inspection visit. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegoloye reports.
In the capacity of Chairman and Alternative Chairman of the National Institute for Legislative Studies Governing Council, Senate President Saraki and Speaker Dogara were given a tour of the complex, including the reception, 1,000 capacity convention center, administrative block, the library, and lecture theatres. The project has, however, been stalled due to inadequate funding.
We'll do our best to see whether we might have to phase it, look at the ones that we can complete and address those. Maybe we might not be able to do everything at one time. But definitely it would be our interest and our belief and our purpose to see that this project is completed in one manner or the other.
You can't second guess the importance of this training institute to the Parliament. We hope that it will serve as a premier training institute for legislators, not just in Nigeria, but on the continent.
The current NILS Governing Council was inaugurated on December 2nd, 2015. On completion, an MOU with Johns Hopkins University, Washington, D.C. is expected to be effected, aimed at engendering a sustainable training and capacity building program. In Abuja, Dennis Adegoloye, NTA News.
The Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, is to be upgraded. This is to remove all impediments to the payment of workers' salary. Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Wilfred Uyoita, stated this at a one-day Oracle IPPIS workshop in Abuja. Adebola Brookson, Sunday reports.
The Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System Office, charged with the responsibility of disbursing salaries of civil servants. The office sometimes faces challenges that it could not handle.
I think at this point, I agree with you that...
Currently, the two major components, human resources and payroll, have been activated and are live. But only the payroll is being automated, while the human resources is still being run manually.
We cannot continue halfway manual, halfway IT. There will be those teething problems, definitely. But I believe that what we experienced in December, when we tried to integrate, will be addressed as the pilot commences.
It's the political will and the ability to drive through an implementation like this, that will make the difference.
As the human resources and payroll modules are being upgraded, the harmonization is expected to enhance speed and accuracy. Adebola Brookslin Sunday, NTA News.
Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Dambazo, continues the tour of government agencies under his ministry in Lagos. Bolaji Akim reports that the tour took the minister to the Police College Ikeja and the Nigerian Immigration Service.
At the Police College Ikeja, the minister expressed satisfaction with facilities put in place for training of police officers. He also acknowledged that more still needed to be done in the area of officers' welfare, while inspecting the fire service office at Apapa Road and training school at Funshaw Williams Avenue. Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Dambazao explained that the deplorable condition of facilities and equipment was a result of people not recognizing the importance of fire service. He, however, promised that things will soon change for better. Speaking with men of the Nigeria Immigration Service at the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, the minister said the present administration is determined to win the war against corruption. He urged them to always exhibit professionalism in the discharge of their duty.
Leadership is very important too. You could see the difference between if you were there in the prisons today, what you saw in the maximum security prisons and what you saw in the women prison, the female prisons. The difference was very, very clear. And this tells us one thing. Leadership is very, very important. So we're going to take very seriously the issue of leadership. If anybody is given leadership position, he must take it serious and we must see results.
He also called on the Immigration Service to protect the country border and also prevent people with questionable character from gaining access to the country. In Lagos, Bolaji Akin, NTA News.
Moving on now, I'm now being joined in the studio by Dr. Nneka Nwobi to throw more light on childhood cancer. Dr. Nwobi, you're welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much.
What exactly is childhood cancer?
Childhood cancer, as the name applies, is any cancer seen in anyone from age 0 to age 18.
So what are the causes? Because cancer is prone to, old people are prone to cancer. Why is it in children?
That's not true. Cancer is seen in anyone who has cells, because it's the cells, that are the basics of any human being, and it's these cells that are affected. Cancer generally means, uncontrolled growth of the cells. So let's assume one has cancer of the muscle, for instance. Is the cell of the muscles that would begin to grow or multiply in a way and fashion that the body is not able to control. There's a tight control for the making of the cells and the death of the cells, so that everything is how it should be. So when this control is lost, one can be said to have cancer.
Okay, what are the types that affect children?
We have cancers of every part of the body in children, from the eye, from the brain to the eye, to the lymph nodes, to the kidneys, to the bones. Every part of the body is and can be affected.
Now, is it hereditary?
Some of them are hereditary, especially cancer of the eye, the one that come and affects the two eyes at the same time. And we don't get that type a lot in this environment.
Okay, how does lifestyle affect cancer in children?
Lifestyle doesn't affect cancer in children as such. It's not as in older people, where you see, once a lifestyle, can affect or can lead one to have cancer. The smoking, the obesity and things like that. Because we've seen children as young as 6 weeks, and what lifestyle would a 6-week-old child have? So it doesn't come to play as much as it does in adults. In
other words, cancer. What children take anyway cannot be related to cancer.
What children take can be related to cancer, but not immediately. Remember that the one in adult is from years and years of abuse, not an immediate thing. It doesn't tell immediately. The things that one should look out for actually in childhood cancer, one of the things is ionizing radiation. Having a woman or a man live in such an environment, that could actually cause some mutation in the germ cells. That's the cells that would now go on to make the child. The ovaries, the egg that is produced by the ovaries, the sperm that is produced by the man, so that when this 2 fuses, that child can later on in life, have cancer.
Does it have a particular age during which it manifests?
We've seen cancers in children as young as 6 weeks, and from that age on, elsewhere maybe younger, but the one I have seen was a 6 weeks old child.
Okay, are there precautionary measures one needs to take to prevent that in children?
The thing to do really is for the adult to look at his or her lifestyle, high tension wire, the radiations, to minimize these things in one, so that it doesn't cause as much mutation as would go on to give an unborn child that predisposition. And then finding out or detecting that a child has cancers early will go a long way, because like in any other illness, early detection and prompt and appropriate treatment is key. With the right treatment and in the very, very early stages, there's very, very high chances of survival. We can get up to 80 to 90% of survival rates in children if they come in early enough and appropriate treatments given as at when due.
For pregnant mothers in particular, are there things they need to do?
Too much of X-rays in a pregnant woman. When you go in for X-rays, they will ask you as a woman, are you pregnant? And then the women who work in X-ray departments, once they are pregnant, even before one gets pregnant, before you can enter into the room where the X-rays are taken, you wear protective clothes that would absorb whatever rays is being given out by the machines. So as much as possible, to protect oneself from such rays. That's basically it.
Dr. Nneka Nwobi, I thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has called on media practitioners to support government's effort at boosting the morale of the country's troops in the fight against insurgency. The minister made the call at the launch of a private news magazine in Abuja. Anthony Fulton reports.
The troops have paid the supreme price in liberating communities hitherto held by the terrorists to such an extent that no community today is exclusively in the hands of Boko Haram.
Irrespective of what anyone may say, our gallant military has succeeded in decimating Boko Haram. Yes, they may be operating fugitively from one or two areas, but they are doing so from a position of weakness. Unlike in the past, when they brazenly took over territories, hosted their flags, deposed and imposed emirs, and even collected taxes.
To this end, as Nigerians, he said, we owe it a duty to support the troops and not to condemn them. The minister commended the magazine for featuring in its launch edition the details of the reconstruction, resettlement, and rehabilitation efforts being undertaken by the federal and state governments in the Northeast, especially in Borno State. He commended the founder of the magazine, Khadija Abdullahi Iya, for her innovation and creativity and solicited support for her enterprise. Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima, who was represented by his deputy, expressed confidence in the magazine, saying it has brought to the fore the plight of internally displaced persons, as well as efforts of the state and federal government in overcoming the crisis created by insurgency. In his remarks, chairman of SI Magazine and a popular columnist, Malam Muhammad Haruna, said the magazine is set out to bring to the fore unreported issues like the suffering of women and children in the internally displaced persons camps across the country and efforts being made to rebuild communities destroyed by Boko Haram. He said the magazine is leveraging on technology to zoom its lenses on the value system and promote the nation's cultural heritage. On her part, publisher of the magazine, Khadija Abdullahi Iya, expressed gratitude to the minister for his encouragement, saying the magazine will strive to live above board and operate within the confines of the profession and its ethics. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
You're watching Panorama from the Lagos Network Center. Join us again after this time out.
Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. The Nigerian